Hello viewers, this is Dave Thibodeau from DT Model Art, and this is my first video that I'm going to be doing, hopefully quite a series of videos, but this is part one of my first video I want to be doing, which is a build-up of the McLaren Honda MP4-30 that has been put out by Ebbro in 1/20th scale. And here's the kit. I've looked it over a little bit, and it is a beautiful little kit, I tell you. So let's check out what's inside, and I'll give you a little bit of a heads up on how I'm going to approach this build and what paints I'll be using for this build. So let's check the inside out first, shall we? Everything's molded in black. Here's our monocoat front end piece where the driver sits. Upon a quick glance at the kit, I've noticed that there's a lot of components that need to fit together very tightly, which I have no doubt they will, because Ebbro, to me, is as good as Tamiya or Fujimi or any of the Japanese kits out there. One other bonus you have with this kit is the pre-printed Pirelli P0 tires with minimal flash or sand or mold seams on the actual tires. That's a plus, but you can't go wrong ever with actual pre-printed P0 tires. I'm not going to go through the kit in depth right now because you will be seeing it as I build it, but there's the molded parts all in black, lots of them. Unfortunately, there is no major engine detail, which is not surprising with a modern Formula One car, as the teams are very secretive about their power plants these days, which, like I've said before, I think it's a big mistake for Formula One. They'd have a lot more fans if they let the fans know what these cars consist of as far as power plants. The technology is amazing. Of course, more parts here. The side pods. There'll be some filling of some gaps and seams in the model prior to paint, which I'll explain in some other parts of the video. Here's our instructions in here. And our decals. Let's get this box out of the way. Very nice instructions, of course, in Japanese, but I think anybody will be able to decipher this and be able to build a fine model. Do I recommend this kit for beginners? Well, it depends. If you're a beginning modeler altogether, probably not. Formula One kits require a lot of pre-fitting and test fitting, and the reason why is because there's a lot of parts in these kits that mate together very tightly to give you really tight tolerances. You can see right here in the instructions that the body, the front monocoat, and the back piece, they have to fit precise. I tend to put those parts together prior to paint. There's a lot of separate pieces that have to be painted body color, so you'll have to keep an eye on that to make sure you can do it. But I say go for it, even if you're a beginner as far as a Formula One car, never built one before. This might be a good subject to try. The paint scheme is fairly simple on it. It's all one color. So, I definitely recommend you give it a try. Take your time. Go slow. That's the big thing. Don't rush it. Never rush a model if you want it to come out nicely. So, of course, our last feature of the kit, my favorite, the decals. I believe the decals in this kit were printed by Cartograph in Italy. And as you can see, they are a beautiful set of decals right there. Looks like the inner side of the fenders are carbon fiber. You see that. Everything else is pre-printed on the sheet in vivid colors. I guarantee there's no bleed through with these at all when they go over the dark graphite color that has to be the body has to be painted with. So these should do very nicely. I'm not a fan of the pre-printed seatbelt, so I might be replacing these. But there's your sheet. Any of you wondering, gee, do you clear over your decals, Dave, or do you paint the car, clear it, polish it, and then apply the decals? On modern Formula One cars, I like to clear over the decals. I just think it's a better impact. The car looks better, the model looks better, and it's very smooth, and it just looks cleaner that way. So I will be clearing over these decals. Speaking of paint, as you guys see down here, my logo, that's on my mat here, gravitycolors.com. Their paint is always my paint of choice. This model won't be any different. And here's the products I will be using here. Let's go over them individually. This is the actual base coat right here. McLaren Honda Graphite GC250. This is a fairly new release from them because the kit is new, or fairly new. So this is one of their newer products that they've come out with. And as you can see, the whole bottle is sealed in plastic. This is what I'll be priming the car with. As you can see, everything has an agitator in it. This is the gray surface primer. Now, he also carries white. For any of you guys that want to do a white base coat or a white primer and then put down the brighter colors, you can use his white. This is his gray I'll be using. You have to be careful with his primers, like any lacquer primer. I mean, most of them are the same way. It depends on the plastic too. Some plastics are more sensitive than others. I can't say what Ebbro's plastic is like, but this is a lacquer-based primer with a bit of a filler in it, so you can use it as a filler, but you can't lay this on heavy. If you lay it on heavy, you're going to get what's called crazing. Crazing is where the lacquer solvent base in the paint or primer attacks the plastic and etches itself into it, and it leaves a rough finish. Very difficult to get out once it happens. To prevent it, you put the primer on in light coats. Very light coats, which I will be going over when I get ready to prime this Ebbro McLaren MP4-30. So that's the gray primer I'll be using. This is the base coat. The entire car is this McLaren dark graphite color. It's the mid-season car, not the early season, which was a graphite like this with a silver. I do prefer that car better, but this is the middle season version. I'll take what I can get. My clear of choice, again, Gravity Multi-Use Clear. Now what they've done is told you it's a 3-part kit. Technically 2 parts, but also 3 parts. But basically your gloss clear activator here, which is the GC306B, it mixes with the GC306A, which is your gloss clear. The clear is 3, it even says on the bottle, it's 3 parts to 1 part activator, which is the yellow up here. Okay, so the little yellow is on there. So 1 part hardener or activator to 1 part pink, which is the thinner. 3:1 to 1. I'm sorry, 3:1 to 1. So basically that's your ratio when you mix this stuff. And once you mix it, you have to use all of it. If you don't use it, it's going to harden up on you and it's a waste. So make sure you're good about, or you're cognizant of how much you actually mix together at once based on the project you're painting. If you're doing a 1/12 scale car, 1/16, 1/18, you're going to probably use a good half of this bottle. I mean, that's the experience that I've had with it. If it's a 1/12, you might use 3/4 of the bottle. It just depends on how you spray and how heavy you spray and what kind of gun you have. As far as an airbrush, I'll be going over what I'll be using once I start spraying this car down and doing all the painting. So again, 3:1 to 1. I tend to also, on my last coat, since I have the multi-use, if you buy the single-use, you won't be able to do that. The single-use clear he has, it's called the 1-dose clear, or 1-use clear, has the reducer and the hardener mixed together. I'm sorry, the reducer and the clear is mixed together, and then you just add a little bottle which is on the side of it, which is the hardener or activator, just like this. You mix those together, it's a one-shot deal. It'll do a 1/24 scale body, trust me, if you spread it out and you do it right. Dual action airbrushes are the best airbrushes to have to shoot this stuff because you can control it better than the single airbrush or the external mix airbrushes, although I've had luck with those too because I own both of them. I'll be going over my airbrushes I use in a later video. So this is my clear of choice that I'll be using. Gravity Multi-Use Clear. And that concludes basically this first part of the video. The next step will be prepping the body parts on the McLaren MP4-30, getting them ready for primer, and then I will go over my primer when I spray the body with the primer in light coats and explain how important the light coats are so you don't craze the plastic. Until next time.